There we go. Change views. Okay, now I can see everybody so much better. Yeah, my computer, every time I try to put a background on it, it won't let me. But we found something else because, you know, in backgrounds, so often you get the green, you can tell it's a background. We actually bought backgrounds for $25 and they're down in our studio. So one is, Anna may have seen them. One looks like you're in a coffee shop. And then our other one is like this beautiful living room. I wish it was my living room with, you know, trees outside, a big gigantic picture window. It's just an incredible, incredible picture. So anyways, and it just looks, Bill was doing his sermons from there. And in fact, he's still taping sermons. They created an online community. And so they're continuing doing that, even though they went back last week. And we had friends who would say, they texted me and they go, where is he? You know, he looks like he's in a coffee shop. How can he do that in a coffee shop? You know, did they give him his own room? No, that's our studio downstairs. Yeah, and if you ever watch Church Talk, I really highly recommend that. Church Talk is our program that we offer every week. We produce it. It's 12 to 20 minutes. That 20 is long. Usually comes in about 15 minutes. And let's see, we had a marketing person on there with us a few weeks ago. Today we're interviewing a woman who's really good about growth and different pieces with that. And we've done them with stress, with conflict, you name it, we've probably done it. We did it from 2014. No, we did them till 2014. I think we did them for like 6 years. And I can't say, because I don't remember, but we have literally hundreds of episodes. So if you ever want to see that, you can go to churchtalk.tv and pull things up. One that we recently did was about online worship and online campuses. So yeah, I was hoping Tanya would be with us this morning because Cody, you and Tanya, the conversation you all had about doing worship online and sermons online. What hit us about 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, is that what a lot of churches in having online services, what a lot of churches have developed, are a second campus. And so one of the best ways to multiply your church is to start a second campus. And so what we realized is that like Raytown, they've got a second campus going, and the way they do their services. And again, if you know, y'all have worships in the morning, but you can go up to their website, raytowncc.org, and you can see what they've been doing. He's been doing with services. So he records the message every week. They have elders send in their elders message, communion messages for the week. He tapes music. He would go up there once a week, and for the early service, he has the organist when she's playing, or the pianist, and then they've taken that and have sent that music out to different people. Sometimes there's one, Hannah often, and then another Tuesday, they'll actually be singing in the sanctuary. But Masha and I never remember her name. One of them is in Texas, and I don't know where the other one is. And so you can catch the earpiece in there, and they're listening to the music that's been played, and then they're singing, and then he's able to put that together. But anyways, he weaves all those pieces together, and then he runs a live Zoom room at the same time, so people can actually watch and participate in the service on a shared screen, I guess is what it is, but they're worshiping with one another over here. And then they have a coffee room, or a coffee time, and it's always up on the screen, and you can zoom into that if you want to do fellowship the way we do between services. And then at 10:30, 10:30. So they're at 9 and 10:30. And that one's pretty much the same, except that he's recorded a lot of their band's music, and they've been doing that. The problem becomes, though, in shifting what's happened right now. Do you continue to do that online service? And they've decided to continue doing that online service because they have people that we have people from Kirksville, which Anna is North Missouri. So we've got them from Kirksville. We've got Tacoma. We've got them in Washington. We've got them in Oregon, Texas. There are 3 or 4 people who come in from Houston area. So you've got this wide range of people, and they're coming in. So one, they decided to keep it. But to be a viable church, you have to have 4 core processes, and that's worship. We call it invite. So ways of inviting people in, ways to connect them to the church, it starts with one another, to the church, and then with God. And then the third is you have to disciple them. So it's more than just Sunday school, that's actual discipling. And we covered that in my education leader development course. And then the 4th component is sending, is the missional aspect of that. So for that to be a viable campus, right, a viable church in its own right, you have to have those 4 core processes. And the church, Raytown as a whole, their administrative leadership hasn't made that commitment. So it's still an online service, and he'll continue doing that. But he goes on sabbatical in September, or October, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes then. You have to be intentional about it, and that's breaking our hearts because we know it's viable, and it would just be awesome. We can teach about it, but you can't get your congregation to do it.
Right.
Really difficult.
Well, Cody and I know Kirksville pretty well. It's only Cody's a short. Cairo is just a short.
Yeah, exactly.
Bit in there.
Yep.
And I went 3.5 years to NMSU. I don't call it Truman State, by the way. It is NMSU for the rest
I was trying to do that in my head. Yeah, a lot of Missouri's state.
Oh yeah, they all changed
their names. And
but yeah, it's always Northeast Missouri State University.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with lots of places in Missouri. I lived there for a summer. I have family there. I've been there numerous times, but I'm not going to know it as well as you all. I lived in Conway, which is tiny and closest to Lebanon, north of Springfield.
Over there by Lebanon.
Yeah, but my cousin lived in Jefferson City, and I went there, and she lives in Cameron now, which is closer to St. Louis.
Right?
Yeah.
No, Cameron.
Kansas City, excuse me.
Kansas City is up that way.
Yeah. My family goes back generations and generations and generations in Lebanon and Laclede County. Now they're centered in Springfield. And so probably 2 or 3 generations in Springfield, but at least 3 generations in Springfield. But yeah, in fact, and there's in Lebanon, there are 2 cemeteries, Bowles, Bolles. There's the old Bowles Cemetery and the Bowles Cemetery, and my family name is Bowles that comes through that. So my great grandfather and great aunts were all Bowles, and great uncles. So.
And Anna, you gave away that you're not local because you call it Lebanon. It's Lebanon.
Yeah, but if you were to come to my hometown, San Diego, you would butcher all of the Spanish names, and I would know when you said La Jolla instead of La Jolla that you were not local.
Now, what part of San Diego are you in?
I am from San Diego. I live in Northwest Arizona now. I was born in La Mesa.
I spent almost 7 months in San Diego.
So you know where La Mesa is? Do you know where La Mesa is? Yeah.
Of course.
Well, I don't know what area you were in.
Oh, well, I was on base, but I know that area so well because when you're on base and you get off base, you go somewhere.
So would have you said La Jolla or La Jolla for Jolla?
Oh, it's La Jolla.
Yes, but before you came there, you wouldn't know it was La Jolla, would you?
But yeah, because I'm from Texas originally.
Right. So people say La Jolla, or
Well, it's
there's
like
all
Tejas.
kinds they butcher.
I was so shocked when it was La Jolla. What
No,
are you talking about?
I'm being from Texas. I was used to the Mexican dialect.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay,
Yeah.
well then you wouldn't be as easy to figure out.
Yeah,
Well, nobody pronounces my hometown correctly. It's actually Cairo.
it's
Yes.
Cairo.
That's what
The
I
one
was.
that's spelled like Cairo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said it wrong, and I realized it after I said it.
That's all right. I usually don't correct people anymore, but since we're on the
I know
topic,
it's Cairo.
I leave this meeting and go to a 12-step meeting that's obviously online, and it's with people all over the world. And we have one man is from and still lives, and we have a couple Americans that are over in Cairo. And I always have to do the trip in my brain because
everywhere else in the country, it's Cairo, but here it's Cairo.
it's
But it's funny though. I know different states, and one thing that's true is it's Nevada everywhere else, but the state of Nevada.
Yeah.
But everywhere I've been that there's a Nevada, it's Nevada, and I think
What?
that's interesting.
And there's another way. There's a third way of pronouncing it right now. I can't pull it out. There's Nevada,
I lived in Las Vegas for several years, and we could always tell people when they said Nevada. It's Nevada.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little different indication of
Well,
inflection of
Some
how you
people in
pronounce
Missouri
it.
call it Missouri, and some call it Missouri.
It's
You know.
I heard
Missouri.
her say Missouri. To me, it's Missouri.
Yeah, it's like calling it Illinois. I don't like that either.
Yeah, I lived in Illinois, and we called it Illinois, not Illinois.
Yeah.
In Des Moines, there's a Des Moines in Washington, and it's always, is it Des Moines or Des Moines? And I kept saying Des Moines, and indeed it was named after Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't. Yeah, Des Moines. You can always
Des
tell. Right?
Moines.
Yeah,
I always call it Des
Yakima
Moines.
is Yakima. You could always tell my in-laws. Bill's from Eastern Washington, and my in-laws in Tri-City, which is 3 cities together in southeastern Washington, and they're I'd like a third rate, if you will, TV outlet, right? So you get to KC, St. Louis, you're in the first rate, and then you get to like Columbia, we're second, and then you get all these third rate, and so Tri-Cities is between second and third. They get a lot of young people that are straight out of J school, and when they're not from Washington when they call it Yakima or Spokane.
Yakima.
Yakima.
My dad was from Washington State. Yakima.
Yakima, yeah, and Spokane, not Spokane.
No, it's Spokane.
Okay, so
I don't know what you guys were you were talking about something that Cody and Tanya wrote. Is that what I missed? I couldn't find the password. Last week it didn't make me put a password in, so I had to go back. So that's why I was like 2 minutes late getting in. I was actually here 20 minutes early.
Oh, no. Well, and Daniel sent me an email and he said, I was there, but by 9:20, nobody was there. And I was like, he's in Ohio. So I sent him an email about 22 and said, we're in Central Time. Okay. So Tanya was describing her conflict, and it was what had gone on during the pandemic. And Cody had responded that, tell me if I'm not doing justice to what you said, that they were not making it convenient to watch the services. Say how you said it.
Yeah. We decided that everybody was wanting the perfect video quality and the perfect sound quality. And my board chair and I kind of talked, and if we're making it more convenient to watch church from your couch than come in with the congregation, then it takes that community of believers to have church, in my opinion. And I realized during the pandemic that wasn't possible or shouldn't have happened. But as we gradually get back in, we got to have that community. And if we're making it more convenient by having the best picture, the best sound, and putting slides on the TV, then we're just saying, oh, just watch us from home. You don't have to come.
A
So-
difference between watching and worshiping.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and doing that in community.
I prefer going in person. I know at my cousin's church, they were already live streaming it way before COVID for the shut-ins and the people that were sick. So it was
Right.
more of a continuation. I
Right.
used to watch Mass in Galway, Ireland, because I have family there, and I liked that, and I couldn't sleep, so I would do that. But I've returned going to Mass, and I actually prefer it. Even though it might be easier to sit here, it's not the same. You don't have it's just not the
No.
same.
No, you
Yeah.
don't have that sense of I don't know. I guess I always bring up every Sunday that I preach that I always start out with the Holy Spirit, bring it into the sanctuary so that we're all connected. That's how I begin every service. And I said, and at the end of it, part of my benediction, I said, now take it and spread it. So to me, I think being in the church that's where the Spirit is. And I think it connects us so much stronger. I'm not knocking because I think we reach out to people that we never knew we could reach out to. You know, my example is my mother-in-law came to me one day and said, "What happened to your minister? I hadn't seen her for a while." And I'm like, "How'd you know my minister was gone?" She goes, "Oh, I watched it on Sunday." So she never goes to church. She hasn't been to church in decades. And so all of a sudden she's like, she found out we had a church on Sundays on Facebook and decided to listen in. So I was like, so you never know who you're reaching. But I do believe that the sanctuary is where the Spirit's actually felt more strongly. I think we still reach it through the screen, but I don't think it's as strong. That's my opinion.
We weren't doing the live streaming and anything before COVID, but we're going to continue it just for those reasons. And say somebody's on vacation or somebody's sick, by all means, watch it online.
Oh,
but
definitely.
if you're able to go, we encourage you to go to the sanctuary.
Yeah, that's you. So I'll tell you, because I go to Raytown, but I don't live in Kansas City.
Right.
And I don't go up for the services. And they've been live streaming. They were doing that before pandemic. And again, they haven't been live streaming. In fact, they're not going back to live streaming at all. They're gonna stick with what they were doing. But I would go to my friend's house to worship on Sunday morning, so that we have church, and they're disciples of Christ. He's a retired minister, and they just haven't found, a church home. So we worship together there. So we're able to sing together and we pray together, right? So it is how you do church. And in fact, as Bill's thought about their people, and doing mission, it's like, okay, actually the Houston folk watch together. So, and they're doing evangelism, right? Because they went from 1 to 2 to 3. They've kind of stopped with 3, but you never know. And that's also why it was really important to him. It was that community and worship. And he was asked for some reason to do a presentation for PZX Optics every month. They do, I think it's every month, they do a free seminar for pastors, and they teach something about technology, and they'll have 2 or 3 ministers talk about how they're using technology in their churches. And so, and Bill may have worked with them for some of their tech at the church. Anyways, he made a presentation, and the fellow, I'm about to forget. I think I've forgotten why I'm on this tangent, but I'll finish my little thought here. So he did that, and the guy called him and said, "Oh my gosh, we owe you a check for $1,000." He wasn't expecting to get paid. And Bill said, instead of that, would it be possible to get a camera from you? And they sent him like a $1,500 camera that we can use for taping. And then they've asked him to come back and do it again. So then we got a second PCX awesome camera. So now we can do 2 shots. And our grandson, who's 15, almost 16, comes over. He runs cameras for us. And I said, we're taping today with Mary Francis, who's ELCA, a former denominational exec with ELCA. But our grandson is going to Quincy with his parents in Illinois. And so, yeah, Bill's like, what? He can't be here because of all of the tech that goes. Yeah, we give him credit. He's our associate producer of the program. Anyways, oh yes, now I remember, because before, as he was the PZX guy had shown them how to do almost like that split screen, but where you were doing together. And Bill said, can you do a worship service that way? And he said, I don't know. So Bill started to figure it out, and he worked with this guy. And so that then allowed for community, so that just the way I had been sharing screen here, and we could see each other. That's what they do with worship. And he's able to run all that. But I do, and I want to come back at that this way, is to say one of the questions that has been available to churches in all of this, it really comes down to ecclesiology and pneumatology. So pneumatology is the spirit, where is the spirit? And Darren, as you're talking about like where the spirit is, and you're saying, yeah, it's everywhere, but it's more concentrated. People bring it in with them. That's a pneumatology. And I know one Methodist church where in the Methodist church, there has to be an fully ordained minister present to consecrate the elements. And we disciples, we just have to have an elder. We don't have to have a minister, a recognized minister, or anything else. Elders are supposed to be there to make it communion, or for it to officially be communion. Presbyterians, you have to have a vote. The presbytery, their session is a board or a council, whatever you want to call that. Anyways, their session has to has to confirm, we'll say it that way, communion. So if the session hasn't said, hey, we're having communion that Sunday, you don't have communion because the session hasn't said okay. So this Methodist senior minister, she said while they were doing doing streaming or whatever, pandemic time, she would not call it a communion. She would call it the love feast. And that was, again, her pneumatology, that she didn't think her blessing crossed out through the TV screens, or that somehow the spirit in her prayers wasn't available to people that were out there. It wasn't the same. She really wasn't consecrating the elements there, the host. ELCA bishops were writing to their pastors saying, one way or another, whatever they were deciding, and all of that. And so, but we didn't look at it at a pneumatological view or question. The other one is ecclesiology. That's what we think about the church. We Catholics have an ecclesiology. Churches are shaped around their beliefs, and so it's things like kneeling in church is part of ecclesiology. The whole structures, bishops and whatnot, bishops and cardinals and the Pope, that's part of ecclesiology. And so for disciples, where is church? How is church? And I think, we in mainline denominations, we have the freedom to have those conversations in our congregations in ways that, say, Catholics don't, or I would say even Lutherans and even Presbyterians don't.
Anglicans, Orthodox, Church of England,
right?
Same,
right?
Episcopalian.
Right. Yeah. This is the way it is. Although I think, because the priests in those traditions really are, and the bishops, they're the authorities on up. but we have the freedom. I'll just speak for disciples right now. We have that freedom to ask, what do we believe in worship? Oh, it's important for our congregation, or for me as a pastor, and you may be able to, or may have heard it within the conversations within your congregations. Oh, this is what's important to us. This is we need to pay attention to this. And it begins to tell us, what do people in our congregation believe, church really is? Is that what we all believe? How are we going to structure our church because of that? What are we going to do? What are we not going to do? If we believe that everybody should be in church together, then an online campus isn't an option, right? Yeah.
Right.
And what makes church? That's another thing. Did you have Sunday school? Did you continue to have small groups?
Oh yeah, we still had Bible study and
Bible
stuff.
study, right? Yep. Yeah. Are those important to us? Is that what's important about being a church? If so, then we need to have that and continue to do that. So does that make sense? A little bit of sense? Looking at, so ecclesiology, another way of thinking about that perhaps is what's important to us at church. What do we believe has to be there to be church? And for some, it's that Bible study, Sunday school classes, women's meetings. There were women's meetings and men's meetings still going on virtually at Raytown. They have a very structured discipling program. So if you're in leadership, you have to go through this. It's a one-on-one discipling program or ministry study. And so you cannot be in leadership unless you've been discipled in some way. That was important. What else? Sunday school. The Sunday school class, they had moved into just doing one Sunday school class during that. And it was co-taught by two of the Sunday school teachers. The other one's just kind of loosey-goosey. It's everybody in there's in their late 80s and 90s, and they're not always there. So they're not, they're just holding on for right now. But they had over 30 in Sunday school every Sunday, so and so they learned, right? These things are important for us. We have to have this.
I have a question about the class itself.
Yes.
Is there a way, I know you did this a few times in the New Testament course, that you can put it out there early? Because like for me, I am up before you post it, waiting for you to do that on Monday because it's my only day off and it's a huge stress for me. I need more time on the back end to prepare. I mean, I can do all the readings. It doesn't give me the chance to do what I want to do. So I don't know if that's possible. I mean, I check it at 6 a.m. my time, which is 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. your time. It's not there yet. I'm stressed. I need more time, and it's been changed to Tuesdays at 9 instead of Wednesdays in the morning. It's just more stressful this way.
Sure. So was it not posted by 9 or so on Monday morning? Because
I don't know, the times are different, but I prefer it to be posted early so that I can choose to take the time that I have off, because I have to be up at 4:45. My schedule is, and I'm exhausted when I come home, but I still participate. So the day I have off, I really need to have already prepared what I'm going to write and spend that day working on it. Otherwise, I'm just going to be doing C work because I can only fit in what I can do.
Sure, of course. So my commitment is to 9 a.m. And so, the readings are in the syllabus, and they're in all of the additional readings have been released, right? So they're all up there, so you can read ahead in all of those. And the discussion forum 1 is always going to be the same. That's what did you read last week?
No, it's the one where I have to take whatever conflict we're doing, and I've already read all the chapters that are the same ones for last week and next week. What am I going to have to do? And like Tanya had asked me, she'd like to know what my cousin's husband did. and how he reacted differently than from the pastor that burned the Santa suit. So am I going to be able to take that and add that on? Am I going to be doing the Christmas tree? I need more time.
Right, I
mean, maybe you're not
understand.
going to be able to accommodate me, but I feel stressed with the way the schedule is.
Sure, I understand. I cannot promise that I can accommodate you. I will try, but I can't make that promise to you. Um,
Is it because you don't want anybody working on it on Sunday, or you don't want anyone to know ahead what they're doing, or?
Oh, no, I'm okay, but I don't want people working on Sunday. That's why I don't release it until Monday morning. Let me see if I am able to set it to release, like at midnight or something on Monday morning.
That's great, because that'd be 10 p.m. my time, although I'm already, I at least would be there in the morning the minute I wake
You
up.
you
whether
would
it's
have it at
4:45 or
4:30 in the
5.
morning.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do that. I will if I can figure out how to do that on Moodle,
Okay.
because I'm in bed at midnight. So, yeah.
Sorry, Cody and Darren, I don't mean to hog up the meeting discussing
fine.
this.
But
Yeah, that may be something that they would like to.
Or it may be something that other people are struggling with as well that are not here in the meeting.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yep. And I know my husband releases, I think he releases like everything so that people can work ahead. I'm just not there because I know too well people will work ahead without without the discussion pieces, and because all my classes always build in some way, I don't want people putting it together without having the interactions and whatnot.
Your husband doesn't release things
He
early.
doesn't?
No,
Oh,
because he doesn't
okay.
even want you working on Sundays either.
Oh,
So he
good.
shuts it off. So he's like, Sunday's God's day. You don't do work on God's day.
Oh,
So
good.
you both have that same mentality, which it's not a complaint for me. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, he doesn't allow you to work ahead. He may
Well,
let you
that's
read
good.
ahead in the syllabus, but he doesn't let you work ahead as far as the discussion forum and all that.
Told me he had everything open.
I mean, could you do it yourself on
Somewhat.
your,
He must have.
Darren, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Could you do it yourself on your own? Or you're just saying he doesn't want you to post on the board? Or I don't know how his classes form. I'll post on the boards on Sundays. Is that what you mean?
Well, he would get upset if you posted on Sunday.
Oh, see, I'm not asking to post early, just
No,
allow
I'm just
myself
saying,
to do my own work.
You want to know
Yes,
what
you
you're
could
in
actually,
for.
technically you could go into his classroom and post on Sunday, but I always tell people, I don't recommend it. He's going to get pretty upset if he
Yeah.
sees you posting.
He won't read or answer. We were talking about that the other night. If you post like afternoon on Saturday for me, likely I'm not going to read it.
Yeah.
Although like today, this afternoon, I will still be responding to scenarios that you all
I was
put
going
out.
to ask you, because I noticed you only responded to a few people, if you were
Right.
planning on responding to
I
everyone
am.
else.
Yeah, I only got, because it took me so long, and I read through them and then I went back to respond, and because I know those two congregations, they were the easiest ones. But yeah, I am going to go back. It takes me forever to write responses like that, like thinking it through, and then I edit as I go. So then I'm taking things out, and it's kind of, but that's.
Can I bring up one little thing in the reading that
Yeah.
before our time's up?
Yep.
It's from Bullard.
Okay.
Because, and I guess this is a pet peeve of mine, so forgive me.
No, you're fine.
First of all, well, in the level 7, he said on number 6, it says, continue to fight with people who have a psychological disorder can result in intensity 7 actions.
Yeah.
And he also refers to a lot of it in that section of sickness and things like that they're sick people. And I'm a bipolar, and I am very, very offended because I am not a sick individual.
Right.
I have a chemical imbalance in my brain, but I am not sick.
Right. Right. So,
But you can, but you're right. He's right.
Right.
You continue to discuss with somebody who has the psychological disorder is not necessarily a bad thing. But if you come at a aggressive move, it can go into a 7 pretty quick.
Right. So, Darren, let me put it this way. Every evening I take 25 milligrams of sertraline and 200 milligrams of lamotrigine, lamictal, and the sertraline is for clinical depression, and the lamictal is for a mood disorder. After I told my doctor I was having a side effect, like for several years, I had to take the sertraline higher doses, and when I saw my doctor, we were talking about it. We were reviewing family history one day, and I'm not qualified to license. I'll say licensed to diagnose, but I can tell you with all certainty, my dad had, and my sister has. They have bipolar disorder, and neither medicated. And he said, "Are you bipolar?" Well, hell no, I'm not bipolar. I know what that looks like, right? I'm not. So much stigma, right? And so he hands me this paper. It's got 20 questions. He said, "Just do me a favor and fill this out." He said, "Well, let's say you have a mood disorder." And he said, "I'd really like you to try this one." I'm like, "No, because the sertraline has worked." And I'm afraid to go back. I mean, I wrote this out recently, just this deep, deep sadness, and had it all my life. And I did not know that until I didn't have it anymore. So I just, cried, a lot, up, down, everything, which is the mood stuff, right? You have really high and really low lows. And so we went ahead, and it took 3 or 4 months at least to wean, because the lamictal, you can't just go onto it. So we did this, and what I found were the crying jags came back, just like, you just kind of, it hits like that, and it's a lot of time. So I told him, I did what you hate your patients to do. I know this, but I went back to 25 milligrams of sertraline. He said it worked. I said, yeah. So now, I mean, for me, I just don't hit the high highs and the low lows. And when I do my check-ins twice a year around the meds, my med check-ins, I can feel, I can cry, I can be happy. All of that, I just don't do it. So I understand the stigma, and I tell them, say that, and because so many ministers they won't go see the doctor, they won't talk about it. And if we don't talk about it, if we don't go to the doctor and get it straightened out and work with counseling and therapists and whatnot, right, then we are sick. And if we don't talk, that's too much self-disclosure. I don't say that in a lot of crowds, but with ministers, I do, because it's really important. When George talks about sick individuals, what he's talking about are unmedicated people. And I can understand why, I think I understand why that pushback, and it hits home. But he's really talking about people, because people, when they're in their right minds, right? You can have conversations with them. And when they're not in their right minds, I've had to deal with a few unhinged ministers and a lot of unhinged people. Yeah.
I tell people, I said, I remember I was in FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, in college. And we were having a big discussion group and everything else. And we were going around giving opinions. Well, I gave an opinion on something, and one of the gentlemen, an older gentleman, in his 40s compared to my 20s, he took exception to what I said and decided to come across around the table and face me. Well, I stood up and tried to walk away from him, and finally, that's enough. So I decked him where he stood. And I said, that shut him up. And I said, you can't, that's what I mean. You got to be careful. It's all right to discuss things with certain people with psychological disorders. Just don't be aggressive towards people with psychological disorders. So, because that's where the 7 comes in.
Well,
I give it as a bad example.
yeah. Aggression is never okay.
No.
Right.
I was untreated at that time. So you got to
You were
understand.
untreated. Now
Yes.
I understand.
Yes.
Now I understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beer was my treatment.
I see. Right. I know. I'm an addict in recovery
so-
and an alcoholic in recovery as well. You can talk about self-medication, right?
Oh, yeah.
But it's also like dealing with an active alcoholic, right? When, you know, that some get really happy, but like my ex did not get really happy at all. You know, he got really
I got
angry.
both. It just
So-
depends on what moment you gave me.
Oh,
What was going on?
yeah. So, you know, there are those times where you don't, you know, you just have to step back. But
Sure.
I've been threatened. There are 3 times that I've really feared that one was a woman, but twice men, and just had to back up and remove myself and speak I just strongly about it. And one of the last times, if the wife hadn't grabbed her husband, and he was huge, and I'm 5'2", and he was really tall and a big sized man. And if she hadn't grabbed him and other people hadn't stepped in front of him, I would have been running out a back door and throwing hymnals at him or something. I don't know. It was bad.
Well, I have to be careful, not just the temper thing. I mean, yeah, my life's a roller coaster. It always has been, always will be. But the thing is I'm 6 foot and weigh 300 pounds.
Yeah.
And I have a voice.
Right.
And so people are like, you're intimidating. I'm like, what did I do to be intimidating?
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to come across as being aggressive,
Right.
but sometimes you can and don't need to.
So Darren, I will say that when you say I always have been, I've always been, I always will be, I would say bullshit, that you don't have to always be. And that part of what
Be what?
Like aggressive and in,
No.
and
I'm just saying the
right.
roller coaster will always be there.
See, I
I'm
don't
not always
think so.
aggressive.
Yeah.
It's just the roller coaster's always there. I get highs and lows all the time.
Right.
And sometimes they last for days and sometimes they last for minutes. So
And
it's
I'm
just
saying,
what it is.
if you talk to your doctor about that, or even, if you talk to your doctor about that you're just not, that they can prescribe
Oh, sure.
something that will interact more and better for
Yeah.
you, right?
I've been on 50 to 55 different medications in my life.
Okay.
So some anti-seizure things like. The only thing that ever kept me straight, was lithium, but also it keeps you nothing.
I know lithium's a real bear. I
So
know.
I'm like, so I just deal
Right.
with the fact that when I feel it coming on, and I'm old enough to know that I'm walking away now.
Right. Good. Yes.
It's like I tell my
those
kids,
are those coping.
tell
Right.
my kids, you're making me
So-
mad right now. You need to leave.
Ah.
I tell them to get away from me because
Yeah.
I know that who I am.
So when you take spiritual, my spiritual development course, we're going to do some different exercises and different things, and those will help you. That'll be that you can put those in your toolbox, because it is, how do we self-soothe, if you will. And I am going to have to get off here, but I wanted to say too about like intimidation for all of us. There are parts to all of us that affect how people see us, and whether they're going to respond or react to us. And in a different way, I'm intimidating. And so I know, really, and so I've learned, when I go in to handle a conflict situation or address a conflict situation, I never wear red. I have a lot of female colleagues who think this is horrible, but I'm gonna tell you, it works. I wear a dress, I wear perfume, and I go in and speak softly. And my Georgia accent comes back, and I talk with a little tilt of the head, don't speak loudly. And I just, I nod my head, and then can get to a point where, do you see, do you think, what do you think? And that begins to break it down. And so now I'm kind of in their space, and I can speak much more strongly at that point. But I do have to watch, because I'm good at what I do, and I've got an intellectual edge and a psychological edge. I can like get in people's heads, and they hate it. So it's really bad. I had 3 men in one conflict situation I went into, and they called me into the office, and all of a sudden I went little girl, like I was in elementary school. And they didn't know I was showing up. I didn't really think that I should have talked to the leaders, but I was responding to people that were not happy about their administrative committee. The administrative committee were 3 families, 3 couples, and 1 other person, and they wanted to take the church out of the denomination. And the people on the board didn't want that to happen, and they were coming to a vote. So I went there, and I walked in, and these 3 guys, all over 6 foot, and big men, and they come and they look at me, and they said, to the office, we want to talk to you. And I was like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? So I just went in there, and sometimes I have to stand a little straighter. Like I find myself stand a little straighter and say, you're the minister, you're the minister, you're the minister, you can do this, you can do this, you can do it. So, we went in there, and, at the end, the one guy said they voted to stay in, and they all resigned. And the one guy said, I hope you're happy, because now they don't have this, and now they don't have elders, and blah, 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 blah. And I just said to him, you're really angry. That's real obvious to me. What you need to do is go and pray about that, and not make rash, reactive decisions. And the next time I saw that guy was at a cluster meeting, and he had his new sports car, threw the keys at me, and asked if I wanted to drive his car. So, you just didn't.
Okay, well, I adopted morning prayer. That has been my save all, day and all. That has been, and I thank your husband for that one.
Good.
Yeah, prayer for the person who can't sit still.
Yep.
That book changed everything for me.
Good.
Because that was my problem, and to have someone sit there and say, I'm hyperactive and I can't sit still to do this stuff, and learn how to do it. It made a big difference.
We use the book in the class.
Yep.
Okay. I have to leave you. I'm sorry, but I do.
Sorry, Cody. I feel like I dominated.
Yes,
you're
Cody.
fine.
Yeah. Anna, you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. And let's see what else. All right. Can I pray us out of here?
Yes.
Holy and gracious Father, help us to receive your spirit in ways that allow us to continue to know healing within ourselves, to continue to make us aware of the conflicts within ourselves. Give us the courage to look at those, to be honest about those, to be open and to hear, actually, to hear what it is you need for us to do, so we're able to do what you need us to do for and with others. Just thank you for creativity. Thank you for desire. Thank you for the way you love our churches, and I thank you for these my colleagues who love their churches and seek to serve them and work within them and to use their gifts now or into the future. So we're going to give you this day as we give you this week, ask you to continue to speak to us in ways that we learn and we teach, and to do, help us to delight in your will, so we can walk fully in your ways. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.